Record. We are recording. This is the 6th of 6 for the Steps Newcomers Academy. Yay, 6 of 6. You made it through all 6. This is service in the SCA, or how to be more active. And we have an amazing lady helping us tonight. I'll let you introduce yourself.
Hello. No, I am Lady Roana FitzStephens. I have 20 plus years in the SCA. And this is, I would like to share with everyone tonight a PowerPoint that I'm working on that's basically for teenagers and significant others. See if I can get it to share the right screen. Oh, can you set me up so I can share?
Did I do it? There you go.
Okay. This is called Finding Your Passion, Beginner's Guide to the SCA. And we moved. Is it still sharing? Because I moved.
No, we see a rose.
Oh, that's my rose.
That's so pretty.
It was a Christmas rose. I am sharing screen. Let's see. Let's try again. I moved it. So there it is. There we go. Move you guys down here.
Yay, we see it.
Okay. I do want to say that all the pictures on this are mine. I took them, so if they're bad, it's my fault.
Oh, goody, my guy just arrived home. Woohoo. I'm gonna mute myself.
Okay. I'm gonna break this down into, I haven't completed all of this, so we're gonna do the introduction and opportunities and interests. This picture was taken at my very first SCA event. It's the group that we camped with, and this little guy in the front is my son, and this is my daughter, and the rest of the folks either no longer play or rarely play. But they saved me because I almost didn't stay in. There are, in my opinion, 5 pathways you can take in the SCA: martial, artistic, service, commercial, and nobility. And yes, nobility is service, but it's a special kind of service. So let me tell you how I got drug into the SCA. My children and my ex-husband drug me kicking and screaming to that first event. I was not interested in hitting people with sticks. I found the arts and the service. I stayed. My son plays it occasionally. My husband does not. So I'm just going to go through this because we're good. You have opportunities in, of course, in the martial area: chivalric, rapier, archery, siege weapons, equestrian. You have opportunities in the artistic areas, what I call the hard arts, like woodworking, leatherwork, costuming, my favorite, and so on, and the soft arts, which is theater, music, and foolery. But then we come to service, and service is probably the most important calling in that society, because you'll hear this over and over, and it's very true. The society runs on volunteers. Without service-minded individuals or groups, we wouldn't be able to hold events or practices. You wouldn't even be able to have a local group. You see some of the most visible forms of service are the nobility, kingdom, and local officers. I am locally the chronicler for the barony of the Steppes, and the board of directors, which may not realize are volunteers that get elected. You have to volunteer to be elected. But there are a lot more less visible forms that are equally important, such as doing duty in the kitchen, serving feast, working security at events, putting TP in the restrooms, of course, water bearing. We wouldn't be anywhere without the people that, check us in at an event, the gate people. And these are all kind of forms of service that do not get a lot of attention. I have served as seneschal. I am chronicler. I have co-autocrated events. There's very few things I haven't put my foot in. Heavy combat is one of them, but I have done water bearing. How do you get involved in all this? For the less visible forms, mostly ask. Poke your nose in the kitchen and say, do you need help? Feast stewards always need somebody to cut onions or wash pots. And especially if you're shy, that's a good place to start because you have a small number of people that you're dealing with. Water bearers are always needed. Gate, it's a little more difficult to get a spot in, but if you see an upcoming event, write the autocrat, send them a Facebook message or email them and say, hey, do you need somebody to sit at gate? Sitting at gate is a real good way to meet a lot of people, if that's your thing. But that's the main, how to get involved. Now, there are opportunities in everything. For instance, I missed, no, I didn't. Okay. For instance, if you're interested in combat, you can do service by water bearing, by marshaling. Most local fighter practices, you can learn to marshal. You can fix armor. The archery field always needs somebody who can keep score and help the archery marshal watch the line. In the arts, you can teach. That's a service. Judging, most of the time judging is done by laurels or people with awards, but in some cases they'll gladly take you along and you can take notes for them or whatever. You can donate the arts that you make. Recently, I have donated to the kingdom a bunch of puppets for the children, for them gifts to give to the children. Earlier, I spoke about commerce. Believe it or not, retail therapy is a service, in my opinion. But if you want to offer service to a shopkeeper or a merchant by offering, sets so they can get a break and go to the bathroom or grab something to eat or run an errand for them. And then, of course, you have service to nobility. Nobility includes the crown, the coronet, baron and baroness, and you could be entourage, you can be a page, you can just be part of their staff, which isn't necessarily entourage. For instance, insignia deputy or that kind of thing. And if you're looking for a job, consider that you might want to deputy to a position. Chronicler, newcomers, hospitaller, marshal, all of seneschal, all of these positions need a deputy, a backup. Every size of group has to have at least 3 officers. Seneschal is required, treasurer is required, and then for a canton, you can have a marshal or an ANS person. Those are usually the 2 that you see the most. Baronies and shires require 4 and 5, because in a shire you have to have the treasurer and the seneschal, at least 1 marshal and or an ANS person, and all baronies are required to have a chronicler. So, as I already said, sharing your wares with your chosen family, again, to me is one of the biggest things you can do. And the most difficult form of service is being nobility. And if this is something you aspire to, I suggest that you spend some time in an entourage, learning what it is that the position you're hoping for does. This is not one that I have any aspirations to, having been entourage to 4 baronesses. It's been a really good trip, but now I'm chronicler and I get to sit at home and I don't have to chase Sarah.
You definitely get your steps in.
I haven't been, but that's due to my job, not to any other reason. When you work 60-hour weeks, it's kind of hard. There are awards for service, as there are awards for the arts and for the marshals and those kind of things. The lowest level and non-armed, you don't get an award of arms with them, are the baronial service awards. In the steps, it's an acorn. I received my acorn from Sarah, and I cannot think of His Excellency's name. Peter, that's it. From Peter and Sarah at Warlord 2 years ago now. This is probably the award that I am the most proud of. This is the one where it took a while. And the second level of awards are awards that, if you don't already have your AOA, it is included with the award. And that is, I have a Sable Comet, which I was awarded for helping to rebuild Glassland, actually, many years ago. This one, if I had not already received my AOA, would have made me Lady Roana. The next level, also AOA level, is the Sable Crane. And that is a Kingdom Service Award rather than where you get a comment for service to a canton or a shire because they don't have a barony. They are not a barony. They can't give a baronial award. Sable Crane is kingdom-wide, and people get these for doing things that support the crown or supporting a kingdom level officer. The next, I have to look this up again because I forget. I get them mixed up. The next level are the Grant of Arms, and that one is a Star of Merit, which is basically it is a garter with a star on it that people get for over and above. I don't know how much farther over and above you can get, but that's when you become a peer as a pelican. So I went through that really fast. I need to slow down. But that is basically what service is and what some of the areas that you can do. There are so many little things that people don't think about that is service. Word of warning, do not get helium hand. It's real easy to say, I'll do this and I'll do this and I'll do this and get burnt out very quickly. I have seen it happen. So if there's any questions, I will stop sharing, unless you have questions about the pictures, and turn the floor back over. No questions?
No, I just want to add there are service options for the kids as well. So if, like me, I have my niece and my nephew who are going to be joining us. They're 9 and 6. My kids started with the SCA 7 years ago. And this is something I've spoken with our Baron. I guess there were some hiccups during when my kids were really active because my kids, best thing is show up half an hour early before an event and go, what can I help to set up? How can I help to set up? Talk to people as you're helping set up, or at the end, stick around, help tear down, put away things. Both of which my kids, we show up 3 hours before an event for Warlord. My poor little daughter has, she's done water bearing from first fight to last fight. But there are awards for the younger ones in service as well. So it's not relegated to just adults. And so if you're sharing the information with other people who are potentially wanting to come into the SCA, you really want to stress that, hey, this is a family thing. You can get them started as young as the little 6-year-old niece I have, offering sliced pickles to the fighters, on the sidelines. They can't turn down a little blonde-haired girl with pickles and orange slices. They just can't. They can't tell her no. They can tell me no all day long. They weren't given out well or often in the past, but our current Baron and Baroness really want to focus on our youth because our youth are our future. And if we don't instill the service in the youth now, we're not going to have the adults. So service is all the way from the youngest to sitting in a circle and offering to extend your knowledge, share your knowledge of your craft. You don't have to be up and working and up and moving to offer your service to the barony or to the kingdom. You can do it from a seated position. So if you're relegated to sitting, have a really awesome looking chair and sit and pull out your needlepoint or whatever.
That's where I think that teaching doesn't
It's
necessarily
amazing.
mean that you're in a classroom. It's
Yeah.
sharing your knowledge.
Mhm.
But my children both have, in fact, my son has 2 rising stars based
My
on
children neither one of them have ever gotten an award.
based on the amount of work that they put in setting up, taking down. I watched my then 9-year-old son tear down an entire lift. Well, he didn't do it
Oh
by
yeah.
himself, because as soon as Mama saw that they left, all the adults had left and left the 11-year-old to tear down the lift field, Mama helped. But
Yeah.
And one of the coolest things is that all of my children's teachers, my son was 7, my daughter was 12, 13. I get confused sometimes. But all the teachers said, Royce is always so helpful.
Yeah, they're very helpful with the kids. They definitely embrace the younger students. But just being willing, to offer to another big thing is offer to help with the children's section of time at an event.
You have to be careful though with that because of all the rules.
Assist. You don't have to not lead it, assist it. You can go over and offer a helping hand.
I was going to say there's probably background checks involved.
There's a little bit of work behind the scenes on that. But if you see her over there or him over there with 12 kids, you might offer to, hey, you need an extra pair of hands.
Share your craft.
Yeah. Viking boats made out of, toilet paper tubes.
Yeah, I've been involved in leadership in several volunteer organizations, so I have to remind myself to not, as you said, have the helium hand. I unfortunately now have several chronic illnesses, so I have to learn to pace myself and be selective as to what I commit to make sure I can actually follow through with what I've committed to.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the first 5 years I was in the society, I was very much in the background because I was mom.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as Royce turned 12 and I could let him go on his own, I was able to get involved. And then the sperm donor left and I really got involved. I didn't have to cater to his wounds, which were archery and heavy fighting and that kind of. And yes, I have been on the field in armor as a combat archer. As I said, nobility is probably the only thing I haven't done.
Mm-hmm.
And won't do. Unless some really good looking guy asks me to be queen.
Sure, why not? Yeah.
I don't need that hat.
I'm happy with mine.
Well,
I've got my award, and I'm happy with my award.
Like I said, this one, I was in tears because it took them 20 years to realize I was doing all these things behind the scenes. And literally, Sarah told me she thought I had one already because I was always doing things.
Sarah gave me my AOA, and she was so hilarious because she's like, you finally got your name registered. They were waiting all this time for me to get my name registered, and I'm like, well,
you don't have to have your name registered.
I'm like, sorry.
My daughter has her AOA and she doesn't have a registered name.
It's okay.
Yeah.
I got it from Sarah, and that's great. I mean, I love Sarah. By the way, you've got control of the record and no record button because I made you host so that you could share screen. So
Okay,
you can stop recording if you would like at any point.